let's do it. Okay, this is Monday, September 24th. It is 2018, and it is 4:30. It is 2018. Thank goodness it's not 2019 yet. We're going to try to roll downhill tonight on the proposed regular agenda. We have proclamations. One is for Fire Prevention Week. The other is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And Alta Medea and Alyssa Peterson will be coming. We're going to get this right during the meeting. Number 2, consideration of plans and specs for the 2018 West Burlington and Agency intersection traffic signal detection. Mr. McGregor.
This is a continuation of the Agency Street project that's for the most part complete. This is camera detection specs. We had some issue with the contractor not wanting to do this project and then receiving a change order that was what we believed was a fair value. So in order to meet requirements for bidding law, this is the reason why you're seeing these plans and specs. We'll go out to bid, get the camera detection for that system bid out, and then do that project as a separate project from the actual street reconstruction.
Was this a budgeted project?
This is part of the Agency Street project.
Okay.
It was in there. This is 80/20 RISE grant cover.
Right.
So,
But it wasn't in the original bid packet that this contract
Correct.
took on? Okay.
You guys good? All right, thank you, sir. Number 3 is a motion for preliminary adoption of the second reading of an ordinance amending section 100.6.2D, determination of stormwater utility fee, right-of-way of Chapter 100 Stormwater Management and Drainage Systems Utility of the City of Burlington Municipal Code. James?
This ordinance would change the definition of right-of-way. It adds to the section where, with the definition of right-of-way, it did have public highways, roads, alleys, and railroad right-of-way. Called those to be exempt from the stormwater utility fee. The ordinance would modify that and add public airport runway right-of-way and public airport taxiway right-of-way to that definition. As just a frame of reference, last year's monthly bill for stormwater fees out at the airport was $225 a month. When we put the new rate system into place, that monthly bill went up to somewhere in the $2,800 a month range. Just a small increase, tenfold increase. This ordinance, the way it's written and was presented to you last week, and with the areas that we had delineated out, what would classify as airport right-of-way for the runway and the taxiway, would reduce that monthly bill to $540. We had a request from the airport to modify that and include an additional area in that definition. Several of their whatever, off of the sides. With what they had handed out last week, it was, I think, 1 through 5. They had frontage road, parking lot, the apron, the fire station out there, all listed. I did run a what if you were to take out those beacons or whatever you call those,
They're just air navigation lighting.
air navigation lighting systems. Those were the numbers 1 through 5. You took those out. You took out the apron in front. Took out the road over to the fire department and took out the fire department building itself. Their bill would be reduced to $268. As a reference, again, their bill was $225 a month. I don't know if that's something that you are amenable to seeing done. To take any more out would actually have their bill below what it was before. And the other items don't really fit into the definitional thing of the changes that we're talking about making in here either. So.
Yeah, I'm groovy with that number. That
I know,
works.
and I know this isn't the whole group, so it's a little bit
Right,
hard.
and I-
Yeah. Mary, is there anything on here that you have a concern with?
She hasn't seen that.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
would-
so I don't know if I have it, I don't know.
You wanna-
It's items 1 through 5, 7, and 10, I think, and maybe 8.
So I think the last conversation was that the council was wanting to charge us fees on revenue-generating areas of the airport. So I had prepared some screenshots of GIS and sent that off to Jim last week of the areas on the airport that are revenue-generating. And it does not include some of the stuff that he's included on this map. So I guess that was my understanding, the revenue-generating parts of the airport. So I'd actually ask for probably more of a reduction than Jim is presenting here, so.
She did. I didn't include it. That's not what this ordinance is about. You would want to probably scrap this ordinance and start over again if you're wanting to figure out a way to make that work. Because that's, I mean, you can't make airport right-of-way fit into revenue generating versus non-revenue generating buildings.
Okay. We're missing two, so I would like to bring this right back up. John's on his way, but he's running a little bit late, so.
Okay. I do have a question. I'll wait for them to give you. That's fine.
Okay, so if you can hang out, and we'll just bring this back up. I want to make sure that we've got everybody in full effect, but yeah, we'll wait till Johnny gets here. This is bounce number 4, is a motion for final adoption of an ordinance amending certain sections of Chapter 105 Garbage and Solid Waste and Chapter 106 Collection of Solid Waste of the City of Burlington Municipal Code. Mr. Petty?
Nothing's really changed over the last 2 times. I'm not sure how much you want to talk about it. You know, it's the changing from a customer-owned container for garbage to a city-owned container. There's a few rules and such. I've said them before, I can say them again, if you'd like me to do that. Might slow us from going downhill a little bit, but.
If you could be brief, we'd still like to go downhill, though.
Okay, the new carts, to be emptied, the lid must be fully closed.
No snow
And
cones.
I can't stress that enough. Customer-owned containers will no longer be allowed to collect garbage from. If they want to hold extra garbage in their can until the next collection day because they maybe had a gathering, they could certainly use their can for that and then move it to the cart when maybe it may have space in it the next week around. Otherwise, any extra garbage must be bagged and tagged in order to be collected. All putrescible garbage is to be first bagged and sealed, closed to help in reducing the nuisance conditions. That's one of the goals of the CART program, to reduce nuisances, and bagging and sealing the garbage that is going to generate odors, attract vermin and such and so on so forth is going to help reach that goal. Residents are responsible for keeping the carts reasonably clean. Certainly a dirty cart over time can itself collect or attract insects and have odors to it. And of course, as we've talked about before, we removed from the ordinance section 106.08 reduced base fee under property tax credit program.
Also, if they want to personalize it,
We,
As long as it's not
since
Notre
they're
Dame.
city-owned carts, we don't want them to spray paint it or paint on it or use an indelible marker on it. We do feel comfortable if they would like to buy some adhesive numbers and letters, and we would prefer that they just put them on the flat sections of the lid of the cart.
and on the disposal of the old one, all they have to do is leave a note on
They
it.
put a note on the cart. I thought the Hawkeye put a nice article in the paper, editorial, Thank them for that. They had a lot of ideas where people could use their cans for some other purposes. And I thought that was very good of them to do that.
And if people have old tags, Don, what can they do with the old tags?
Well, you want to have an even number of tags once we go beyond November 1st. So you might want to look at your inventory, and two times $2 tags is a total of $4, which that's what they're going to. So as long as you have an even number, you'll be okay.
So with the tags, we'll have a few things that are gonna be going on. I think you're gonna have a flyer that you'll have out front we don't have customers typically come in to buy tags. They go to vendors, stores who do, and purchase them there. But the vendors will come here, and we wanna make sure they understand what we're doing. You're gonna start delivering carts,
Carts started being delivered today.
and that'll take about 2 weeks to get finished.
Yes.
So one confusing thing is that our new pricing scheme doesn't go into place till November 1. So folks, under the current system, once you have these new containers in, they can still be using, through the month of October, they can still be using their own containers in addition with still that $2 fee. So if they have a 30-gallon container they want to put out besides the carts, they'll have that ability to do that with the $2 tag.
Get rid of some
And it
trash.
will be something that our folks will have to make sure that they're able to be patient with. That people are probably going to be a little confused over that too. But our new pricing scheme doesn't go into place until November 1. Vendors are able to sell those tags until November 1. Then we're going to be looking to we'll have new tags a couple of weeks before
I
November 1.
think the new tags are supposed to be delivered to City Hall the 16th or the 17th of October,
So
a couple of weeks before 1st of November.
So they'll be available to come in, vendors will be able to come in and exchange the old tags for the new tags around that November
Yes.
1 deadline, and start selling the new tags. So, you're gonna have vendors who may have, they may have a handful, they may have a few hundred, depending on the volume that they go through. They can come in, exchange them and get that off or credit towards the purchase of the new tags as they do that exchange. Folks who still have, after November 1, still have some of the $2 tags will be able to use them on a 2-for-1 basis. If somebody gets caught in a position where they have just, say, one tag left and they don't have a way to really use that well, we'll be able to accommodate that here at City Hall for an individual purchase of a tag or whatever to even out on that 2-for-1 basis.
Okay.
Okay.
Don, I know one person had a question to dispose of their old can. They just handwrite a note on it that says,
Yeah,
please-
they just
please
need
don't-
to.
They don't have to put a
some
tag
kinda-
on it. They don't have to
Some kind of
tag it.
note on it that says, please take this can.
Okay,
and we
but it
will
doesn't
take it."
require a trash tag
No.
to dispose of. Okay, thanks.
We're good?
Good.
Don, you've been fantastic, my friend.
Thanks, Don.
Don, you rock.
All right, number 5 is resolution awarding contract for the 2018 Mason Road Shared Use Path. Mr. Mack.
This project was let through the DOT. It's a DOT-funded project through a TAP grant, a Transportation Alternative Program funding. The resolution, and I would recommend awarding bid to Jones Contracting for $198,770. The bid project versus the estimate was substantially lower than what we were thinking it was going to be. The contractor, we had in the bid spec, we had that it could be either this yet fall or late start day in the spring. We spoke with the contractor today. He would like to do it next spring, which I think is part of the aspect of the reason why we got it so low, rather than trying to put that project into this fall yet. So my recommendation would be award bid to Jones Contracting.
What do we have
wanted to do that really bad.
budgeted?
$292,000 was budgeted. It was an 80-20 match, so the TAP grant would correlate back to where it's only going to cover 80%. So I don't know if some of that TAP money goes back to regional planning if we don't use it all.
Does it? So what's the, how much did we save on our match? Any idea?
From the original amount, it was
$20,000?
You still have engineering fees to go into
Correct.
this.
Oh, okay.
So that's gonna be a portion of it.
Yeah, I didn't take the 198 plus what our engineering fee is, which would be, be $25,000-$30,000 added on top of the 198. So
You guys good?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, number 6 is a resolution approving participation in the Partnering for the Future campaign, the third.
We had a presentation that was done with the Economic Development Subcommittee of Local Option Sales Tax a couple of meetings ago, requesting the provision of $75,000 of funding towards the Partnering for the Future campaign. They did approve that came at a presentation, I think, at a previous work session, maybe 2 back, talking about the campaign and asking it for the council consideration. You seem to have some general approval to follow up on that.
Yes,
So
sir.
this resolution would follow up on the Economic Development Committee's recommendation and authorize the release of the $75,000. That'd be $15,000 a year over 5 years. It would come out of Local Option Sales Tax Fund, out of the Economic Development allocation.
Okay, you guys have any questions on that? Jeremy, did you want to say anything?
I'm just here if there's questions.
I would remind, we weren't a part of the second campaign, we were a part of the first campaign. The first campaign, we did provide $50,000. We didn't partner the last time, and we are now this time. West Burlington and Des Moines County both are, I think, have been partners on all 3.
Okay. Well, it's good to be back in partnership, so. We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to the consent agenda. We have some resolutions approving nuisance abatements for various properties. And then we have number 2, everybody's good with that, right?
Yep.
Number 2, we have a resolution approving final acceptance, final payment, and release of retention monies for the 2018 parking lot improvements, 6th Street and Washington Street lot. Mr. McGregor.
the resolution in front of you would approve the final payment of $36,912 and then releasing the retention of $5,717. This project was bid out at $115,422.97. Due to some quantity adjustments, the project actually ended up less than the bid amount at $114,353.71. The budgeted amount that you can see in your memo actually says $62,000. That's a carryover from when we had this project paired with the 3rd and Washington parking lot. This has been a project that's got extended a couple years. So it was over budget from what the budgeted amount was originally.
That was years ago, wasn't it?
Yep, that was 2 years ago.
Change orders for 168850. Right on. You guys good?
Good.
Thank you, sir. Number 3 is a resolution approving final acceptance, final payment, and release of retention monies for the 2018 seal coat reconstruction. Mr. McGregor.
This resolution would approve the final payment of $13,933 and then release the retention of $16,827. The budgeted amount on this project was $368,080. The bid came in, if you remember, a little higher than what we had budgeted at $425,747. Some quantity adjustment happened with, I think it was the less rock than what we were expecting it to be, just because you're adding rock to the height of the surface of the road. It was a $100,000 deduct just because of the quantity adjustment. So the project actually ended up quite a bit less than what was planned. So $336,550.50. So you still have engineering in there. We're still probably a little bit over budget.
A little bit over?
We're over budget when you add the internal engineering on top of that 336 as-built costs to what we had budgeted. But it's not as near as to the degree as when we originally awarded contract. And that's road use tax that funds that.
We good?
Any idea how much you're over?
I could do the math back there, but I didn't do it when I was sitting there. It's 14% of the $336,550 added towards that. So
So about
35, 40,000.
8 to 10, or
So you're probably 10 to 15,000 over budget.
I don't even remember what your original budget was, but the seal coat fund that we throw over, we put into our CIP a certain dollar amount each year, make the transfer over. Your projects don't happen on a fiscal, they'll cross over from one fiscal year to another, so we typically always run a cash balance there. So we have, that, when we get down to the treasurer's report near the end of the meeting, you can look on the capital project lines. The seal coat, I think, has a couple of $100,000 sitting in it, is my guess.
Now, last year was quite a bit less than what we had
I remember
planned.
there was some carryover from last year, because
So-
that helped us this year.
So even if it's a little over budget, it's not 180,000? So when we talk about being over budget, that's a fund where
On this project
we try to
specifically.
stay close, but when there's carryovers, they have some play with how they spend money on, as long as they stay within their overall dollar amount.
We good?
Yes.
Number 4, resolution approving permanent easement at 726 Black Hawk Boulevard for construction of sanitary sewer.
This easement, represented by the yellow line on the page on the projector, is necessary for the construction of a sanitary sewer in order to provide sewer service to the lots at 715 Shaka Khan Drive. Peter and Kathleen Orth own land at 726 Blackhawk that is necessary for the planned sewer construction project. For consideration of this easement, the city shall consider sale of the lot located north of 726 Blackhawk Boulevard. So basically what we're doing is we're offering them a swap where we give them this parcel right here in exchange for the sewer easement to 715 Shaka Khan.
One of the reasons that Eric had looked at doing it this way, that will give one consistent property line across the back for all the properties.
Right.
It's really easier long-term for how the lot separation works and to maintain ownership on that portion of the land.
Take it, that's our piece of ground right now.
Yes.
I see no problems there. Council?
As long as the Orth's are okay with it, I don't know.
So, now, this is, again, 715 is the lot where we tore down,
Parkview Care Center.
and so this will allow what your goal is to subdivide that into 3 lots
Yes.
and then sell it for single-family homes
Mm-hmm.
to be developed on.
Good.
And there is no sewer along Shaka Khan, which is why we have to come off of Blackhawk with an easement.
Good. Are we good?
Good.
Good.
Good. Number 5, resolution awarding bid for installation of sanitary sewer to provide service to the property at 715 Shaka Khan Drive.
Sealed bids for this project were received on September 6th. 2 bids for the project were received, with the lowest bid in the amount of $34,800 from Four Seasons Excavation and Landscaping. The project is funded through the demolition program and proceeds from the future sale of lots at 715 Shaka Khan Drive upon completion of the sewer and subdivision work.
Council, you guys good?
Good.
Good. Number 6 is a resolution establishing a no parking zone on the south side of Florence Avenue with Crystal Drive to end of pavement to the east. Mr. McGregor.
We had a request from someone in the neighborhood. As you can see on the overhead projection, there is this area in red is the requested area for no parking on the south side of the road. After my public works staff took a look at it, the width of the road doesn't really allow for 2 lanes of or 2 parking and then a lane of travel. Because it's really not affecting anybody on the south side for established parking, Public Works recommends approval of establishing this no parking area. We did send out letters to area property owners and inform them of the date next week where they can offer public comment.
I do have one question. Have we received any complaints about parking on the north side of that street? And the reason I ask is I actually had a couple of different people approach me about issues with travel, because obviously, as you can see in the picture, there's a boat there. And there's another gentleman that constantly parks a vehicle there, and that, so have we had any issues?
That
or
is
complaints?
the reason why this is coming forward, is because of the parking, and you can see the boats on the image there.
Yeah.
That's actually the problem that this request has come from, but to establish a no parking zone on the south actually makes more sense, just because it's not affecting anybody that parks on that side.
Okay.
Good? Thank you, Nick. Number 7 is a resolution approving an application for funds from the Iowa Great Place Grant of the Iowa Department of Cultural Affairs for projects along the downtown riverfront. Mega Buck Chuck.
So if you remember back in July, you approved a pre-application for the Great Places Grant. It was for a package of amenities, including the splash pad, shade structures, outdoor auditorium, and then dock and floating boardwalk. So this is the official application that we were asking for $400,000 from Great Places to help fund these projects. Now, our estimated budget, these are just estimates right now, have the total project with a healthy 20% contingency coming out to little over $5 million. We have a number of funding sources for these projects. So on here, we're asking for $400,000 from Great Places. We have $4 million of our Tiger Grant set aside for riverfront improvements. And we have a Tier 1 boating infrastructure grant right now for $200,000, and we're going to go out and ask for $1.5 million Tier 2 boating infrastructure grant in the future. So we have, based on our estimate, $1 million or more over what we think we need. There is a bit of a fudge factor in there because our boating infrastructure grant Tier 2 isn't guaranteed. Having this $400,000 Great Places grant that we apply for as a package of projects gives us the flexibility for, if that next boating infrastructure grant doesn't come in, we can shift some of this money to pay for those docks because we need some local match for that boating dock grant.
Quick question, you've got 1.7 up there, but you said 1.5?
So the boating infrastructure grant is split into 2 tiers. We have the first tier, and
So
that's
the first
$200,000.
tier
The
is
second
added to that.
tier is 1.5.
The Tiger Grant, did that have the boat, redoing the boat ramps on the south side
Yeah.
as well in it?
Yes.
So are you taking account and making sure you set aside the portion of the Tiger Grant to still cover that?
I believe so.
Hopefully you make sure that we do, because I
Uh-huh.
think that's an important thing to make sure that we're doing that and not
Okay.
compromising it with some of the other
Well,
things.
unless it's
Sure.
changed, I was in that meeting with Leo, and that was something that was discussed, and I remember him saying that that was included in what was presented then. Now, if it's changed, it's possible.
Right.
but-
And it'll be more fleshed out when we sign our contract for the Tiger Grant. Right now, it's more of a large pot of money that's going towards riverfront projects as opposed to specific projects.
Okay.
Hopefully, we'll know more on that soon.
Mega Buck Chuck. Keep asking for the big dollars, man.
And there's moving forward from today, our deadlines for this Great Places Grant. Application is due November 1st. We then have a funding decision December 21st.
Good? Good work, Chuck.
Thanks, Shane.
Number 8 is a resolution approving an agreement with H.R. Green, Inc. of Cedar Rapids, Iowa for engineering services for Burlington, Iowa wastewater treatment facilities north end odor control. Don?
Yeah, before you, a proposed contract with H.R. Green, an engineering firm, a consulting firm that I've worked a lot with through the years. They're very familiar with the wastewater facility. They were involved in the design of the 2010 improvements that were completed in 2012. That was completed at the request of the city council at the time that wanted to look at increasing the capacity at the plant. And we looked at I think, 3 different scenarios, and the one the council settled in on was converting the aerobic digester to an anaerobic digester, also putting in primer settling tanks and a lift station at the north end of the plant, which improved the hydraulics through the facility or increased the hydraulics through the facility. Both of those areas have potential for creating odors. So in anticipation of that, I had put in the CIP program a device called an air scrubber, which is intended to manage air from areas that tend to be odorous and scrub the air and remove the odor from the air as it's being vented. The north end of the plant, though, I do think that both the improvements have the potential to create odors. But I think the greater potential that we have and that we're experiencing is as the city separates the sewer system, there's less infiltration, less inflow, mixing with the organics that are coming from our residences, from our industries, commercial properties. And then you have the less water, more of potential for settling in the sewer system. You have the chance for breaking down of organics, and one of the byproducts of that process is the generation of hydrogen sulfide. And hydrogen sulfide is a gas. It will strip out of wastewater when it's going through turbulent areas, spilling from, if there's like a drop manhole where it drops down, there's turbulence, it releases gas. And hydrogen sulfide becomes sulfuric acid with moisture, and it can eat concrete and pose problems for equipment and electronics. And as the separation has gone, including the improvement at the plant, the odors seem to be getting stronger at the plant, particularly at the north end of the facility. We had in the CIP for next fiscal year the inclusion of an air scrubber to manage that, and I decided that I thought it should be moved up 1 year because we have been noticing stronger odors at the north end of the plant. And this is the engineering proposal to look at the facility at the north end, come up with a design for a control system which will likely utilize activated carbon to remove the characteristic smell of hydrogen sulfide, was that rotten egg type smell.
All right.
That's
Council?
that's in this year's CIP now, isn't it?
It is in this year's CIP. We
It
moved
was
forward
in next year's, but we moved it ahead.
It's moved up.
Yeah, it
You
was
have cash on
it was
hand
next
to-
year's, we moved it ahead
You have
1 year.
cash on hand to cover that.
Well, I think we
Yes, you
do.
do.
I don't have a combination to the safe, so I've never been able to inspect it to see what's there.
The word on the street is you do, but anyways, right on, right on. You guys good?
As a neighbor to the water treatment plant, I welcome this.
Now, the water or the wastewater? Let's not get
Wastewater-
confused here.
Wastewater treatment. plant. I
Wastewater, okay.
apologize.
I thought he wanted to purchase one for home use, and your family eats a lot of bean burritos right now.
Stick it outside my office.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, hopefully they'll be able to deal with the smell until we do get that in there, the staff we got working.
How long will it take? Will it be in by year's end, or is this a?
Well, no, it's, it'll take probably over approximately 6 months, I believe, to do all the engineering and put everything together. And then the timing of such, I was concerned about at what time actually if we went into construction, we award the bid, we went into construction, I was concerned that the system would not really actually be usable until about this time next year, and maybe even a little bit later, which I'm not really sure what the design operation will be, but sometimes in the winter we experience less or fewer odors, so there's maybe times where the system would not be running. I was concerned that we'd have the project completed and then the system would sit idle and we really wouldn't get a true test of the system. And So I, in discussion with the engineers, felt like if push comes to shove, I think that we might wait until the next spring. So it'd be a year and a half probably before it actually would be put online and tested for meeting design criteria and that type of thing. So, yeah, we'll have to go through another full year, I think, before it's actually, before local people will see the benefit of having the system. So I apologize for that, but that's, like I said, it was in next year's CIP, and I moved it forward because I thought things were worsening, and we are continuing to separate the sewers. We still got a long ways to go, but they are working or going to be working on the locust system, and that's just another potential loss of water that helps dilute and move things on its way. And as I said, as the separation continues, I think that the potential for hydrogen sulfide odors is only going to go up.
Good? Thank you, Don.
All right.
Good.
Thank you.
And we've got a set date for, we got a public hearing set for October 15th. One is consideration of a sale of property, parcel 16, 17, 228, 043. It's located south of property locally known as 715 Shaka Khan Drive, City of Burlington, Iowa, with conditions. And then B is a consideration of an ordinance amending section 58.19, motorized vehicles of chapter 58, noise control of the City of Burlington Municipal Code. Did you have anything you want to say on that, Megabug?
No, section A is just the aforementioned parcel we're trading for an easement.
All right, brings us to discussion items. Treasurer's report. Annette, class of 87.
Hi. Again, there's two treasurers' report in the packet. We're still working on year end. And our audit is scheduled for the end of October. So we'll be getting closer to final numbers by December 1st. They'll come and do their thing. So some things have changed. There were some receivables and things that got put back that happened in September, and our last hotel motel payment came in that goes back to June 30th. So those things were on there. But other than that, not a lot has changed. And then you also have August in your packet. Again, I booked quite a bit of revenue back to June 30th for receivables. And so I don't know if there's anything that you guys have questions about. I can tell you, if you look at the revenue summary, one of the big targeted jobs fund, you'll see there's a big influx, and that's because CNH paid us for several periods. And that came in and went back out, because that's how that kind of works. And other than that, I mean, I didn't see anything that really stood out as big. I'd say the sewer mainline repairs had a lot of expense, but that was the Arch Street and the Vineyard projects that we paid out on. So, if you guys have any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, brings us to number 2, RFP towing contract. And Chief.
The city manager had tasked me with looking into a towing contract for vehicles that are towed, either requested by us or used by us, or for evidentiary processing, whatever it may be. We have had one in the past, and it was in the late 90s, but that has since gone by the wayside, and we're back to using, on an alternating basis, the different towing companies within the city. Some of the concerns that come to mind is the equipment that is being used for towing, making sure it's in compliance with safety standards, making sure that there's some safeguards in place, and there's experienced, I guess, equipment operators with those towing services. The RFP that you see there is a 1-year contract with an opportunity to extend for over a 5-year period, so we don't have to go over this. If both sides mutually agree, after every year, we can extend that contract. Some of the equipment requirements are 2 Class A type wreckers, which is basically they're smaller wreckers that can carry up to, I think it's 4 tons, a total of 10,000 pounds, and 2 of those for this towing company to make, I guess, a proposal to us. One Class C wrecker, which is a 25-ton pulling capacity, which would be the capability of towing up, I believe, like a semi or those larger vehicles, and then a car carrier, which is basically a flatbed wrecker, and then the ability to strap up a motorcycle and tow it. Going along further, under number 5, you'll see facilities. On there, we've stipulated within 2 miles of the city limits where they would have a storage area to store the vehicles or to tow them to for placement within 2 miles of the city limits, not city center, but city limits, from the outer city limits. The reasoning behind this is the convenience for the persons that we invite to come to the city of Burlington, and they may have parked in the wrong spot and have their vehicle towed or something like that, them having to travel further than, a taxi cab right away, because if their vehicle's towed, how do they get there? Or if we have the opportunity to take them there, if for some reason they had been towed and they're from, somewhere else that's quite a far distance away and they have no way to get to that vehicle, to get it out of the storage if it was towed. And I'm thinking of mainly for like events, whether it's Steamboat Days or something like that. It's an inconvenience for them to travel 9-10 miles outside of the city limits, and an inconvenience for a cab ride to go that far, and even more expensive than just the tow itself. So that's the consideration there. Under number 6, you see the 1 year of experience in towing and recovery work that's needed there and defined in here of the personnel that's driving the equipment or the towing, to make sure that they have the proper experience necessary to tow the vehicle, not cause further damage or recklessness. The response times under number 7, I've highlighted, and that's standard now, the 15 to 20 minutes during normal hours, and then 30 minutes at night, their response time on it. And they're really pretty good about it now. Both companies that we use currently now are that falls in line with where they're at right now.
What are the 2 companies we're using right now?
Campbell's and Jim's.
Is Jim going to be within the 2 mile?
Probably not. Not with the facility they have right now, unless they would obtain one.
Most of their equipment, does it meet the standards that you're identifying in here?
Some of the equipment they have may not meet the standards that are in here. I would have to basically inspect it, and this RFP would give us the opportunity to look at that and inspect it. And there's insurances here for insurance that they'd have to be a B plus rating by AM Best that they would have to show for insurance on their equipment and their service.
But you do have to note, and that's part of going through the details here, is it does have a potential impact on who's providing services,
I'm just thinking
or
about.
at least how they're doing it if they're going to continue to.
I'm just thinking about the different providers in our area, and so far what we've talked about, there's only one
There-
that I could think of.
Yeah, there's only 3 that I know of in the area.
Yeah.
And when we, as the police department, this would be one that we would use for towing, that if we identify a vehicle that we want towed,
Right.
we would use this wrecker company. If a citizen requests to use another wrecker, they can do that. They'll still be able to do that.
Will this also apply to nuisances?
Like abandoned vehicles?
Yes.
They have-
Abandoned vehicles, this would apply to that also, and we would work with them, and we have been working with both wrecker companies with abandoned vehicle processing.
Okay.
Going down the line there, there's 3 different bid packages that they're going to be able to present, Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3. And all it is Group 1 is vehicles not owned by the city, which would be owned by a citizen that was requested a tow for. There's a rate that's applied there that they would have to quote to us. And then Group 2 is vehicles that are owned or leased to the city, which would be our vehicles, any city-owned vehicle, whether it's a police department vehicle.
You're getting us a good deal, right?
A fire department vehicle. They all have an opportunity to bid. So, Group 3 is vehicles that are towed for the police department. These are vehicles that we would impound or use for evidentiary purposes or for forfeiture. And it's quite a lengthy document. I did go out and research other municipalities in our area. I think Muscatine is pretty close to this. It uses a similar RFP and contract, so it falls within those guidelines, but I'm willing to answer any questions about it if you have any.
So an advantage of having this would be someone from out of town parks an incorrect spot, they get a tow, they're freaking out, where's my car? They know who to contact? Because I know it's happened before and they're calling all over the place and they don't know where their car is.
Yeah, right now we use like I said, it's on a rotating basis. I believe it's every 2 weeks is we rotate from using Campbell's towing service to Jim's wrecker service and back and forth. And sometimes there's complications with that on when that changes. And the operators that handle that out at the comm center sometimes forget to change over, and there's a couple days lapse in between there. So that's an issue number one. And now they would have to call the 2 different places to see who towed the vehicle or which one was requested. With this contract, it would narrow it down. We just use one towing company, whichever one that may get the bid.
One thing I like is it ensures that if we initiate the tow, that whoever's taking possession of another person's property is doing it in a way that not only respects the property, but ensures it's not going to be damaged or it's going to be protected from somebody else damaging it, and then we're not liable for it.
Exactly. Me personally, in the 30 years of service that I've had, I've seen a vehicle being pulled up on a car hauler and get loose and come off the car hauler and run into another vehicle. So I've seen it firsthand. I don't stand behind those car haulers when they pull them up there. Some people do. I do not, just for that reason. And if that vehicle or if that cable breaks loose or something's not attached right, that's why we're looking for an experienced operator plus equipment that we know is approved and is safe. There may be some equipment out there, and it's not just for the police department or the officers that are out there when the tow's happening that may wander in behind. I'm experienced. I know what can happen when they come loose. Some new officers that aren't may not, or citizens may stand back there. I always try to move them out of the way and say, hey, don't stand back there, stand up here on the curb with me. But you never know what happens. So the safety is the biggest reason. Like I said, I've seen them come off the car haulers, and it's not good. So, and we did have issues before in the past with neither one of these wrecker companies, but sometimes when they get them up on the lifts on the back of the Class A wreckers, they don't put a security down over top of the tire, and then you see them come off that when they hit a bump, and then the vehicle comes off of that. So there's some requirements there. So if we see something like that,
Just be better all the way around, right?
I think it would be safer in the long run for the citizens and plus my officers out there. That way we know they have equipment. I'm not saying accidents aren't going to happen. Things may happen, but we got to take all the safety precautions that we can.
Right on. Good?
This is pretty similar to the bid process we used 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was 97, wasn't it?
We did a 1-year bid 20 years ago and haven't done it since. So felt it was a good time to revisit this topic and get it done again. It's set up as a 1-year bid again with an optional, I think,
5 years, yes.
annual renewals on that.
Yeah.
That works. You
Okay.
guys good?
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief.
Number 3 is Great River Housing Trust, SEIRPC.
Evening, Mike Norris here, Director Southeast Iowa Regional Planning.
How you doing, Chuck?
Doing great, Mayor, how are you?
Good.
Great. Here to give you an update on the Great River Housing Trust Fund and also to ask for local match contribution for our grant year 2019 application coming up. Burlington has been participating with us last couple of years, and we're doing kind of a split fiscal year model, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But first of all, just a couple basics about the Housing Trust Fund. This is a separate 501c3 nonprofit organization. Regional Planning incorporated Great River Housing around 2008 with the purpose of establishing it as a certified local housing trust fund. So we established it. It serves 4 counties in southeast Iowa: Des Moines, Henry, Lee, and Louisa counties. And it has a separate board of directors, which I should mention Charlie is a member in good standing of the board of directors. And Regional Planning administers Great River Housing on a management agreement. So basically, our staff is their staff, and we handle all the money. and also implement all the projects and bring new ideas and strategies and things like this. And so I think this is our eighth year in operation. We're working on our 8th grant anyway, and I'll go over some of the results of that period of time. First, I'm going to talk about what we do. This is all about affordable housing, and when I say affordable housing, we talk about different income levels, and the jargon that we use is low to moderate income. And all that means is that there's a threshold of incomes that we can work with, and that threshold is 80% of the area median family income. To give you an idea about how much that is, for one person, that's $39,000 a year. For a family of 4, that's just shy of $55,000 a year. And as you might guess, the amount of money goes up as the members in the household or the family go up as well. So what we do is, first thing is owner-occupied rehabilitation. If you own your house and are income qualified, then Great River Housing will help fix that house. And what we concentrate on are things critical to the livability of the house. We look at the building envelope, the mechanical, the electrical. So roof, siding, windows, gutters. We do some foundation repair occasionally. New electrical service. Believe it or not, there are still fuse boxes out there. Illegal splices, things like that. So a typical bid scope may be, if it's a envelope project, roof siding, sometimes windows if there's enough money. An interior project may mean new electrical service, which would mean new wiring throughout the home, upgraded outlets, all those things that basically bring it up to code, reduce fire hazards. And we also do things like new water service, new sewer laterals, all the stuff. Down payment assistance. We do a lot of down payments here in Burlington, and this brings $7,500 to closing for an income qualified persons or family, and that is a non-payable, no-interest loan. So what happens is it's a loan. We stick it on as a second mortgage. When they sell the house, money comes back to the trust fund, then we reuse it again. That really reduces risk for the banks, but also the homeowners as well. They can have a little bit more cash in their bank for repairing their home, unexpected things that come up. Project-specific financing. Sometimes things come up where someone's buying a house and they say, hey, we really need that new furniture, air conditioner, so we'll do just a little loan. We don't do many, but we do some. The development assistance is a grant program that we started to do infill development in older neighborhoods. The 227 South 9th project I talked about a few weeks ago, that was a development assistance project that brings a $25,000 forgivable loan to the project. So it enables us to put work into it and then sell it how it can be affordable in the marketplace. I'll show you a few other projects in the presentation here with that. And then upper story housing, we also have an upper story housing project we do. We're trying to do that every other year, and that's specifically for downtowns and upper story living units, either new units or gut rehabbing existing units. So in our 8th grant year, these are our results. We've completed about 130 separate rehab projects, over 100 down payments, and then development assistance and construction finance. A little bit over 250 projects so far, and we've been able to leverage some funds. Part of those leveraged funds are about $640-some thousand, something like that, 643. I think that those are the home projects we're doing here in Burlington, the Burlington Home Grant. So Great River Housing has brought another 643 here into Burlington.
Sweet.
And the home grant does down payment, but it also does rehab, both. So that looks like we'll do about 18 homes over those 2 grants.
This is as of, since how many years?
Since 20, basically 2012. So we're in our 8th grant year. So we're doing a little bit over 30 projects a year average.
Doing it, yes, yes.
So it's been a great program. We're trying to build up our equity so that we can do more projects just out of the retained earnings of the corporation as well. Here's some pictures about the types of things we're talking about. Got new furnaces here. We got the windows, the flooring, plumbing projects. It's quite interesting what some of the homes need. Just a few before and after pictures. Got a basic siding project here. Porches and decks, a lot of roofs, doing a lot of roofs out there. This one here is in Burlington. Just visited this project last week. This was a siding and roof project. One of the things in the older areas, if you can't do a lead paint abatement project, at least you can cover it up so the paint is not flaking off and getting into the soil and becoming a chewing hazard for young kids. For pets too. A lot of people don't think about that, but pets eat paint chips too. Another before and after here. Got the electrical services, structural stabilization, and then also some site work. If we have things that are endangering a house, like a big overhanging tree limb, we can include that as a project. Sidewalks that are hazards for ingress and egress, that can be part of it too. Even ADA accessibility issues are things that we can do. So some examples of the development projects around the region, not just Burlington, but just to give you an idea about what we're doing around. We partnered with Habitat for Humanity in Columbus City, which is just south of Columbus Junction. We're partnering with Oakville Development Corporation. They were formed after the 2008 flood, so they're slowly rebuilding some of the homes in Oakville with the help of some Amish volunteers. Here's our 227 South 9th project. This was financed by Great River Housing plus the development grant. Probably one of the more stunning before and afters that we have to
pretty
show.
nice.
This is one we're doing in Keokuk. This is an infill lot. We're putting up kind of a craftsman bungalow style there.
You know where
And-
that would have really, that spot, where that would have really looked nice though?
Where's that?
In Burlington, but please continue.
We're not done yet, Mayor.
I know.
We're also partnering with building trades, so we're hoping we can establish these throughout the region. We're building this home in Donaldson on Main Street. Bought a lot, tore down a dilapidated house. Building trades are doing the carpentry and finishing out of Central Lee High School. And this home is at 425 Hageman in Burlington. This is a lot we purchased from the city. And the SEC trades class is doing the carpentry and finish work
Sweet.
as well.
Sweet.
And a couple projects here to end. Top project, we did the construction financing for that project in West Burlington. And how that came about was that was the former school site that was acquired by the city through TIF dollars. You have to reserve so much of that for low to moderate income housing. And so they thought it was easier to finance us to hedge against maybe a delay in finding an income qualified buyer. So we went ahead and did the construction financing for that low to moderate income project. And then our very first project we did through the development assistance was in Mount Pleasant. And this is another vacant lot where a home was tore down. So we're trying to spread this all throughout southeast Iowa. And we will be looking for another lot here in Burlington for the SEC trades class. So hopefully we'll be able to come back and
We've got 3 of them, if you're interested,
we'll be looking.
by Grable Park.
We'll be looking. And here's an example of an upper story project. This one was in Mount Pleasant. Pretty standard adaptive reuse. You can see the before and after is just a shell, and now it's it's a nice apartment in downtown. Looks like this is our updated board list. You can see Charlie up there, but we have regional representation from each county, both private sector, nonprofit, and government. And we'd like to ask the city for a $20,000 local match commitment. We've done that the last couple of years, but split that between 2 fiscal years, so $10,000 in each of FY. I believe we're looking at 20 and 21.
James, you got to come up with that money.
We typically put this out of the housing rehab capital account. So, and I think that we put in, Stephanie, is it 24 to 30,000 out of local option sales tax annually? I think this last year it was only 24 because we put 6,000 to something else. I can't remember what we had a match on, but out of that we'll allocate a portion to this, and that'll be in what's presented in the budget next year.
That's good.
But it also means we don't have a whole lot for housing demo,
know,
housing
right.
rehab.
One of the things that Charlie's kind of brought to the table are nuisance abatement projects that could also be a fit with Housing Trust Fund, and I believe it was Gannon. On Gannon Street, we recently completed a project that was a nuisance. They qualified for the Housing Trust Fund owner occupied. And so that was a nice communication, collaboration between city staff and the Housing Trust Fund, and I believe that project just recently was completed.
Yeah, I'd like to see some more of that. But
Yeah,
that's-
I like that idea a lot, especially since we ticketed all those garages, and sometimes they got ticketed because they can't afford to fix them up.
Sure.
You guys good? Chuck, we're blessed to have you. You're doing a fantastic job for us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Okay, that brings us to number 4, Council Chamber Sound System. Stephanie.
First, I need to apologize. The title of the discussion item is incorrect, and I missed correcting it before the agenda went out. But this discussion is basically just about the city council chambers as a whole, not just the sound system.
Okay.
So I think we're still good to talk about it. But there was a memo in the packet, just to kind of give you a little bit of history. The last time we updated this room was like in 2012.
It says 1533.
15. Anyway, we had a small budget then. At that point, we did upgrade the sound system. So that is one part of this area that we're looking to not make any changes. So, like I said, I apologize because it does think that we're changing that, but we're not. Basically, what I know one of your city council goals was to assess the audio and video, the setup of this room. So we went out and met with 3 specialized vendors that they specialize in city council chambers or conference room setups. Those companies are not located in Burlington. We went to Communication Innovators. They are located they have an office in Cedar Rapids and Des Moines. They actually were a subcontractor for our police department and set up those rooms down there. We went to 2 firms that were in Davenport, Tri-City Electric, and what's their last one? Conference Tech. So we met with them. We said, what would you do with this room to make it better? We showed them our setup, some of the issues, the problems we have on functioning. We didn't give them a budget number. We kind of just wanted us to, how to make this better. And then we'd see how we could implement some of those recommendations. So what I've outlined in the memo is all the proposals had in common was to upgrade the cameras, do HDMI. Basically, that will see improvement in the streaming and the recordings of the meetings. But until we get some upgraded equipment through MediaCom, that won't improve the actual signal that's going out to the MediaCom subscribers. So we are in contact with MediaCom to find out what equipment upgrade would be necessary, who might pay for it, how much it would cost. So we are working that avenue too. So. But basically, we've allocated $50,000 from our IT budget this year to do some of these upgrades. So what I wanted to do tonight, like I said, the equipment that they are recommending, we've kind of piecemealed all the different proposals together. And we think, of course, upgrading the cameras is something we want to do. One of them had a recording system we thought sounded really great. So the next step would be to get an RFP together with all these changes we'd want to see. Then it would go out to bid. Anybody, could bid on it that would be able to get the equipment and installation. So it would be kind of a package deal. So the things that I would like you guys to get your input on is basically the proposals 1, 2, and 3 that's listed in the memo. It's changing maybe how we see things in here. So proposal 1, I have a Vienna one
Rich is
here
your
with
helper.
Rich. One of the firms
helper.
proposed that we put 4 70-inch TVs in the room. We would get rid of the projector. We'd have one there, one facing there, and then the same thing on this side of the room. So change it, we'd become a lot more tech savvy. People could, bring up their
Interactive.
presentations. could
Is Rich
do-
gonna stand over there and hold that TV
Yes,
up?
he-
Because if he is, I'm all in for
But
that.
we wanted to do this just to kind of give you
The visual.
the visual.
The whole paper is the size of that, how that would be,
Yeah.
not just the.
Is it?
No, this is great. I'm a visual learner. I'm
Yeah.
taking this all in. This is good.
So-
Can you hold that over there so I can just see the?
Sure.
Yes, the screen up here is 108 inches.
Right. So
I
the
just
second
wanna see
proposal.
how big that's gonna be in comparison to the old screen, James.
Yeah. So the second proposal would be to keep that screen. We would upgrade this projector. So this projector would be much brighter. It would fit the screen. You see how we have some constraints there. It would make that function a lot better than what you're seeing now. And then the third proposal, we thought possibly we keep the screen, we upgrade the projector, and then maybe we just add 2 TVs on this side for people like Jim, who doesn't have to turn around and see. He could then, we could do one there, we could even do 2, one facing you guys, one facing the audience. So,
Groovy, man. I like the,
so that's kind of where we wanted your input. We don't need a decision tonight. We're missing 2 people. We can bring it back in a couple weeks, but maybe just to start thinking about it. So,
when you bring it back, you're gonna need Rich to come so that he can still give us the visual.
yeah.
But, yeah, it's, man, we've been getting so many complaints, and it's not like we've just got money to throw around to do
Right.
whatever, but, that would be one good help, and I love the idea, but I'd like to still keep the projector and the screen, but I love the thought of adding the TVs. I think that'd be quite beneficial. But-
Okay.
One thing I would ask, and I like the idea of adding a television, and keeping the screen as well, but would it make more sense, and I'm just thinking if I'm sitting up here, it'd almost be better if we had maybe a couple of small monitors on the table for us to look at versus trying to read a screen that's 20 feet away.
Yeah.
You can bring the stream up on your laptops.
Right, that's what we did talk about. If you can pull up our website and be live streaming, so you'd be able to see the presentations as I'm switching them in the back, they would
Right.
come
Yeah.
up. That would be one way to see it up closer to.
But I need a separate monitor, because I've got the packet on it right now, so I wouldn't want to flip
Right.
back and forth. I'd need to have something.
And that was one thing we did think about, because if we would do that, we would just put up screens up here.
Well, if you want to build something into the table, you could do that. But the thought there was, there's a lot of things that
All
go
about
on in
money.
this room that don't involve that. Do you want to have infrastructure on your table permanently? Or do you want, like now you could have it on your laptop and flip back and forth between your packet, or you could have maybe a second laptop or something like that if you want
Okay.
something portable on the table. The idea of doing screens in here is when we reconfigure this room and you put tables out here and maybe that's
You can still
then
look.
usable by when this room is reconfigured for training.
Can you say that into the microphone and say it with your chest, please?
Do you want me to repeat it?
Yeah, you better.
Yeah, so the thought was we could put screens on the table, but there were some concerns that if we install permanent infrastructure on that table, then it's not always used. This room is used for different things other than just council meetings. You could use your existing laptops and switch back and forth between a packet and the live stream on your laptop. I guess you could have a second screen or a second laptop on the table, something more temporary. The thought with putting screens on the wall in various configurations is when we rearrange this room for training or conference, or frequently put tables out here for other uses in this room, and trying to make the room usable for other purposes just than having it on that table.
Okay.
2 questions. one, what proposal are you guys leaning to? Do you have a preference? And two, whatever we do, I think it should consider the viewer at home, because I know that the larger screen and everything would be great for us, but I know it is really painful for the TV audience
and-
to try to watch and hear what's going on.
All of the improvements that we've got so far would improve the live stream on the web.
Awesome.
And so I think right now we're probably getting as many live viewers on the internet as we do on MediaCom. Seems a lot fewer and fewer people having cable TV rather than one of the other competitors to that. The thing with MediaCom is right now you can watch our channel on 2 channels on MediaCom, channel 17 or 121.5. That's an analog and digital, and they're both crappy. Excuse me, both bad quality.
Ditto.
Yeah, they're both
Yeah,
bad
they're both-
quality.
they are.
And so the discussion with MediaCom was lending toward maybe doing away with channel 17 and just having a digital channel, and then upgrading the mechanism of getting it from City Hall to the MediaCom broadcast equipment. And that's the discussion, is who pays for that. There's maybe some room in a franchise agreement that they would have to pay for a little bit, but I'm sure there would be some cost on us. And that's TV broadcast stuff way outside of our experience and in both what it would be and what it would cost.
So on these proposals, are all 3 proposals, are they all similar in cost?
No, that's where we need to put a proposal together. We're not going to pick one of these that we've already, we just had them bring us ideas.
Okay.
Now we're putting the proposal together. So the proposal that had the 470-inch TVs was higher than keeping this and that. But when we go out to bid, it might be different.
Okay.
And that's what we don't know. We kind of wanted to get the
bet.
basics down, get an RFP together, then go out to bid, so.
And so all 3 of the proposals changed the back-end equipment, vastly upgraded the cameras and the booth equipment. Kind of the variables there was what you guys would see in the room. So, and that's the visible things. Otherwise, the underlying mechanism is going to be replaced in all 3 of our vendor proposals. And so kind of the variable was the things that you see. Otherwise, the RFP would, all that underlying stuff,
Right,
that
right.
switchgear and broadcast equipment.
Well, we need to get that party started, and we'll be full force next time so that we can.
Yeah, okay, we'll keep it on as a discussion item.
When the IT committee talked about this, the 3 different alternatives, whether to stick with this, use just the TV cameras, or to do a combination of them, which one did?
Well, we
came
didn't
out
really
as a
take a vote.
sense?
I mean, I think we all were kind of torn. We didn't have a real consensus in the IT meeting, but it was presented to our IT steering committee, just to, and we all went through the pros and cons of each one. What do you, I don't think,
I personally like to keep the large screen. It's 180-inch, we can't get a TV that big. Kind of the price point right now, 70-inch TV, they're reasonable at $1,000, $1,500. When you go above 80, it jumps to like $8,000 per screen. So to replace a big 180-inch screen like that would be cost prohibitive with anything big. And then I'm concerned about TVs projecting into the room at an angle, maybe one against that wall. But those are variables. You can get those. Usually those TV mounts are adjustable, and you can get them up so that when you're not using the TVs, are they in your face out in the room?
I don't like the idea of covering up putting it over the door there. I mean, I'd rather see it on a wall, probably on this back wall facing Dawn and those people who are further away from that, but I don't see it. I like the idea of keeping this and maybe putting one over there for the convenience of the people in the room, but outside of that, I agree with you.
well, like I said, we've got this, we'll just leave it in here, and when we come back in a couple weeks, we'll kind of just, briefly, and if there's any other information, like I said, we kind of just wanted to keep it simple. The back-end equipment, it's all going to be upgraded. It's going to make, the camera person's life much easier, how they have suggested to get things set up. Hopefully, we won't have a lot of downtime, like sometimes we have switches that we need to reset. It'll simplify the system and make it more reliable.
When did you say the last time it was updated was 2012?
Well, we did 2012. That's kind of when they did the remodel. Like, they got new carpet. There was some video equipment. There was some sound equipment. But, I mean,
Wasn't anything
we're
major.
talking less than, I'd say, $15,000 on equipment. So even though you say it was some sort of an upgrade, it was It was very minimal. And at that point, we were just piecemealing it together. And the company that helped us originally set up this chamber, they're out of business
They
now.
got bought by this conference techs.
Yeah, so nobody who originally set this up can come help us to say, how can we make it better? That's why we kind of wanted just to say, look at everything, give us some ideas.
Yeah.
So,
You guys good?
any other
Yeah, appreciate it. Love the visuals, Rich, thanks.
No doubt, Rich. Make sure you're here in a couple of weeks. We're gonna need that. It's important to me. Okay, guys. Any issues with appointments? That brings us back to Mary Beard, and Johnny's not gonna make it tonight, and neither is the Mayor Pro Tem. Did you,
You know, I will.
Did you have any thoughts?
Because we're here, we might as well talk a little bit more about this. So of this map, there's still taxiways on this map. There's still air navigation facilities on this map that I think we talked about leaving out. So, but, you know, furthermore, I guess I was reading through your ordinance, and I think perhaps we're making this too hard. I understand the ordinance needs to be the ordinance, and maybe that is left as taxiways and runways, but it seems to me like in the ordinance, there's a section in there that talks about the powers of the director of the stormwater utility. So perhaps there's a person that takes care of this ordinance that then could say, okay, we'll rebate the airport, we'll refund them, we'll do whatever it is to resolve this. The ordinance can remain the same. Just a thought, perhaps we could do that. And I think, you know, this really even goes beyond this ordinance. The airport is here for the city, and we do a lot of things at the airport. It goes beyond dollars and cents. We've got probably 5 acres that takes care of the wood chips for the city that we own, the airport authority owns that. It saves the city a lot of money because they're not transporting those wood chips somewhere else. Obviously, the fire station is a big money saver for the airport. The armory, you know, the city uses all those buildings at the armory. The airport authority owns that property. So it's more of a, we do a lot for the city as well. So sometimes we ask for the same in return. So I just think that, so there's 2 folds to this. There's the ordinance part of it, and there's the other part of it that, hey, we're a team here. Let's work as a team.
So, I mean, do you feel like we're not, you feel like with the getting it down to 268, you don't feel like that's working with you?
Well, the map's not right because there's still a lot of taxiways that's been included on the map. There's air navigation systems that's included on the map, so the map's still not right.
What taxiways are still on?
So everything in between a hangar is called a taxiway. Because you have to have that taxiway to get to the apron, to the runway.
I appreciate all your comments, Mary, and I agree. And I think that the art of compromise sometimes has to come into play here. And I think we're getting close. We're within $23 a month of what you had previously. So I think we're getting close. We're arguing over about $276 here. So we're getting there.
Mr. Rinker?
I was trying to get the GIS to come up so that I could have a much better look. I mean, yeah, if, taxiways, we agreed, shouldn't be included. So if the taxiway serves a purpose that is for air travel and not to service hangars that are rental income based, then it would be something that I think we've already discussed as being excluded. But if a taxiway services a hangar, as you and I discussed, that you rent out for income, then that taxiway would fall under the ERU. So, and I know.
I don't remember that being a catalyst though for, on the, what, to me, this don't.
We flat out said anything that was earning, I mean, we just said anything that earns income is not something that we're going to exclude, anything.
Yeah, we
that
might
does,
start digging, Mary, and these numbers are going to go the other way.
Here's my thing.
Well-
My thing is that this started off as not a way to figure out what was what at the airport. This started off as there was an ordinance change, but it affected the airport in a way that was gonna be drastic to your budget. So what we're doing is we're making concessions to make it so it works more. I mean, this is where we're partnering. We're trying to make it where it's more suitable for the airport. I don't remember anything else being a driver as far as what, property makes money and all that stuff. I don't remember any of that being the catalyst. I just remember that we're trying to make concessions. That was my understanding, is that this is really gonna be hazardous to your budget. So we're trying to make it where it's more feasible for your budget. Am I wrong on that?
I mean, you can,
No.
either way,
Okay.
the airport is in much better shape than they were before any of this conversation came up. But when we talked about it, we said that we were going to do what we could to exclude taxiways and runways that contributed to air transportation that weren't income associated with the income. That was what I got out of the meeting when we talked about it a few weeks ago. So if we,
I just got more of that. We're just trying to get the price down lowered so that it's not tough on the budget. That's pretty much what I got. We're just looking at different avenues to try to do that, and different thoughts came up.
like I said last week, we just need to define what's a taxiway and what's not a taxiway.
We're short 2 council members. We're gonna have to come back to this. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, but this is archived. They can look it up and go through this, but yeah, we're gonna have to come back and see what they say. Mary, if you've got anything that you want to email us, or information that you think will help out the other council members too,
So will we be able to redo this map then again to get rid of the taxiways and the other air navigation systems that are on here?
Taxiways serving what
A
you're.
taxiway is a taxiway is a taxiway. The ordinance says a taxiway.
Serving a hangar.
Well, the ordinance says taxiway, so that is a taxiway.
see, yeah. We'll have to wait till next week, but I'm satisfied with leaving it the way it is. I think we can nitpick this thing apart and, with verbiage and.
That's why I feel that we've been pretty generous and brought it down quite a bit from where it was.
I need to know, I'm not sure where the other 2 are, but we're just gonna have to leave it where it's at, Jim, and we're gonna have to come back. I don't know where Jim and Antoinette are.
Yeah, I'd like to, after the meeting, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk to you. I was able to get it pulled up. I want to see what you're talking about here on the map, so.
Sure. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Anything to add? Okay. Mega Buck Chuck, anything on the way out?
TIF policy, next work session. That's it, though.
Okay. Counselor? Anything on the way out?
I think Chuck should brag about his wonderful program he had this weekend.
Oh, yeah, we had a walking tour of the Heritage Hill District. It was a celebration of the design guidelines that the Historic Preservation Commission produced. We had almost 100 people show up to this walking tour, which is one of our best attended historic events by far.
How many people?
Almost 100. And it's because we started doing Facebook events for some of these public meetings and public events, which has really upped our attendance. But people had a good time. The Historic Preservation Commissioners led separate tour groups. They're very knowledgeable and were able to generate a lot of interest in the historic district.
Where'd we get you from again? All right. Counselor?
It's with regrets I announced Sarah Goff has moved out of Burlington, and we'll miss her a lot and appreciate her time that she spent on the Library Board of Trustees.
Oh, man, what a blessing she
Yeah.
was. She's going to be missed.
She is. I'll leave the big shoes to fill in Burlington. And other than that, I don't have anything.
Okay, wow. I hate to hear that. Sarah, you will be missed. Counselor?
Nothing.
James?
Just the Tama building, I think there, I don't know if there was something in the paper or not in regards to that. I know that it was covered on the, out of the Quad Cities. Got released on Friday. So the insurance company has given it to the property owner to start doing some evaluations of it. They were gonna need to get an engineer in to take a look at it. I don't know the timing that they're doing that. They were planning on doing that this week. I think Eric is supposed to meet with the developer. When I talked to him last week, he was hoping to get that done for Friday. to have a timeline for what he's looking at. But until an engineer gets in there, I mean, I don't even know that Friday is the time where he's going to really realistically be having a time frame for what he's doing. The developer does want to rebuild there. I think that part of that, though, is needing to wait what comes back from an engineer's results and seeing what can be done to, whether you can technically shore up a portion of that structure and maintain it while you demo and remove the other material and start doing a rehab process. But we'll see how that moves over the next couple of weeks, but it is good news that he's at least into a position where he can start to move forward and hopefully be able to get to where we can, until we get that building shored up in one format or another. The chain link fence is out there as much as anything else for a fall zone. So we'd like to be able to get the chain link fence off of the street and open up those streets, but we can't do that until we've gotten to a point where that building is considered, the walls that are remaining are considered safe. So it'll take a little bit of time yet.
Okay. Is that all you got?
That's all I had. So.
I would just like to close out by saying it's good to know that ugly people can have nice-looking kids. John Paul, how you doing? Good to see you tonight. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody. You're welcome.
I think you're talking.